Hey everyone, Arthur Fantastic here, and this is my follow-up to Single Christian Women Stop Waiting, where we'd already discussed the already largely pervasive idea that women in the church just need to wait to find a husband. In this video, I will be introducing and segueing through a whole bunch of clips. But first, I'm going to open up with two clips that I've already posted to my Instagram that really take a big chunk of this conversation and condense it into a very short amount of time. And this is coming from sources that are women of color. So they have some kind of special power also in the world of YouTube and people listening. The Greased Up Death guy said that. Greased Up Death guy said that. But anyway, I think that they're genuinely intelligent women who are discussing a very important topic, and it does say that the older women in the church need to teach the younger women, and so I don't see anything wrong about this. Women should teach other women. I've discussed in videos women teaching men or having authority over men is not something that is necessarily a good thing. Like maybe in private, like tutoring might be something that might be okay, but having authority or teaching someone in public as in a way showing some type of authority over men is not okay. That aside, I would like to start with my two videos from my Instagram and we'll work our way out from there.
Pandering pastors, single women run the church. These pastors know that single women would gawk at what the Bible actually says about women and what the Bible actually says about order and what the Bible actually says about punishment and what the Bible actually says about authority and what the Bible actually says about obedience, not just in relationship, but just in general. These pastors know that single women would gawk at what the Bible actually says in its entirety. So they leave it out and men won't stand for it. So the pastors will accommodate and compromise, and men don't respect that. And they're not sitting for that. The issue is that there are way more Christian pastors who will pander and accommodate and twist up what they call the word of God to pander to a human woman. And that's what men don't respect.
What she's saying is absolutely right. From the hippified, sloganized Jesus, a Jesus who's nice and never harsh, even though he's repeatedly harsh to his opponents and people who are disingenuous with him, to this idea that God's just gonna drop a man in your fucking lap. Like, that is not in the Bible. I want a Boaz. Ruth snuck in his room and begged him to marry her. What are you doing?
You don't talk to anybody. You don't talk to men just because you're single. And they sold you this lie of, oh, it will just come. You need to stop worrying about that. Just serve the Lord. And if you get busy and you pretend like you don't want marriage, then it's going to come. We don't give this advice for anything else. If someone wants a higher paying job, no one says to be idle. They say, keep applying, position yourself in the job market, right? Until it happens. Even if you get rejected by one company, does that mean that you stop applying for the job that you want? No. You keep applying until it happens.
As I touched on in the previous video, you cannot believe the number of women who are Christian that I've encountered that are just waiting for their Boaz, their husband. Meanwhile, the actual story has Ruth, you could read this in Ruth 3, begging Boaz in the middle of the night to redeem her. We have crippled numerous women in this previous several generations who will be perpetually single for the rest of their lives. Why? Because they're just waiting and waiting and waiting. It is not good for man to be alone. That's what God said, so he made woman. Woman is the same because she was literally made to be a companion. So instead of being biblically accurate and holding people accountable for their actions and encouraging marriage, they have enabled perpetual singleness. What was presented in the last two videos are the two leading causes, the real leading causes for the high amount of single Christian women in the church, and also the high amount of problems within marriage that we're going to slowly get into, because it's kind of a outgrowth of a effeminate gospel, a gospel that has taken all accountability away from women. As in the first clip, the majority of churchgoers today, the overwhelming majority, are women, as well as that also transferring into the overall majority of the church tithes come from women as well. So we could see in part of there being a is it nepotism, a nepotistic type of self-feeding. I employ pastors that are going to tell me what I want to hear. Okay, it's very corrupt. The whole idea itself goes part and parcel with the effeminate gospel that is now currently taught in mainstream Christian churches, where, you know, the accountability has been removed from the believer. We're going to go more of that into future videos, but and this video will kind of segue into that video. But in this conversation, it applies to the sycophantic property of hiring pastors that will only say what you want to hear, and it becomes a feedback loop. And that's a negative thing. It becomes a negative feedback loop where you're static, and it just creates noise, and you can't hear anything else. Okay, when you have only yes men, people just feeding into your absolute delusional way of looking at life, you hinder progress. You stop the ability of people to, like, course correct. You know what I mean? Any relationship is a ship, and you have to be on course. And if you go off course, and there's an ability of the navigator and the etc., the rest of the crew to get together and be like, okay, the navigator, oh, but I see this over here. Why are we over here? You know, you can't be like, oh, well, I'm just right because the map says maybe you did your calculations wrong. Maybe we're off course. We need to get back on course. By refusing to get back on course, you drift slowly to your death in the middle of the sea. And that's what a lot of women are doing, drifting alone in the middle of their life, only to die alone in the middle of a sea of available men. Half of men are middle class, childless, and single. Like, what is the problem? So, on the one hand, we have a mainstream Christianity that has doctrines that holds no one accountable, especially women. And that results in these terrible doctrines of waiting. And on the other hand, we have women who are literally telling other women to wait. Like, oh, you don't have to do nothing. You can just avoid marriage and avoid not even talking about it. Don't talk to single men. Um, Not that you should be talking to a whole bunch of single men, but as she says, you apply for a job. If you don't get one, you keep applying until you find that position. We don't give this advice to women in any other situation. And I could go very deep into this topic, and will in this channel, and have in the past, which it will be one of the next upcoming videos, will be a compilation of a 10-part series that I did on Instagram, especially on the subject of women waiting. As they burn in their, like, literally talking about how their body is burning in their want. It is better to get married than to burn in lust. And it seems that most of this is because people are ignoring the actual scriptural prescription of people's life in terms of their conduct. And what I'm talking about is, of course, the Torah, which is the basis of all morality and discussion in the New Testament. When we have these discussions of don't burn in lust and get married, and the idea of getting married being important, and if you're a widow, you're not allowed to be on the widows list till 60. Uh, I will try to be brief as possible, so that as I delve into the subject, I can segue into the grander scale of what we're looking at in terms of this subject, uh, the grander scale in regards to what men are dealing with and what women are dealing with, and what women should be doing but aren't doing, and what men are doing but are, it's not enough for women. And we have to understand, it's not just me saying it, okay? I'm not a woman experiencing this. This is coming from multiple women on the internet, especially in these spaces, who are trying to encourage women to get married. I mean, like, that's a biblical thing. You're not supposed to be waiting. In fact, most people in the Bible were married young, especially women. Men sometimes have to wait because that's how life is for them, in terms of them having to accrue wealth, influence, stability, and things of that nature to demonstrate to the opposite sex that it's a safe and stable decision to marry that person. Um, beyond that though, the idea is marry young. That is one of the few factors that, for Christians specifically, people who are active biblical believers, uh, that will lead to excuse me, a better outcome for people. But that also has to entail the idea that was underpinning society pretty much for all time before, like, the 1960s and 50s, when the whole sexual revolution, followed by the summer of love, etc., took modern Western culture down to its knees, and then made it an S&M gimp. So what we have now isn't really comparable, as we've discussed many times on this channel, and we will discuss further in this video, in fact. But let me try to wrap up this and then move on to the subject that I'm trying to get to from here. Society cannot sustain, nor can it survive, a large amount of single women living off the government dollar, not replacing its population with children. Okay? A country, a nation will not survive. It will die. It will be conquered. It will be, people will come in and replace them, and that is what it is. You know what I mean? We've already replaced the culture. Why not replace the people? The culture itself uh, is this is all indicative of the culture itself being broken, of modern Christian doctrine being broken, of what we allow in society and are encouraging in our women is broken. And we can move to, and this is what I'm trying to get to, we can move to what women are acting as if they deserve or want in a relationship is anywhere near what they're worth, anywhere near what their value actually brings to a relationship, if we're talking about the objective things that men want, or general things that most men want, or the objective things that are spoken about in the Bible, that describe a good woman. You know what I mean? And I'm going to point out that these next couple of women that we're going to be discussing in this video all identify as Christian. These aren't, people are always like, oh, these are just the bottom of the barrel women. These are all Christian women, and all of them, from one end to another, are um, professional women. I'm going to also include some average middle class Christian women who have these insane entitlement and expectations. Uh, we're going to go through these. I'm going to give some commentary through, and we'll get through it together.
And you get prime pussy or you get easy pussy. And now there's levels to this in every game. It's just like business in general.
Just to be clear, what are you?
Prime.
You're prime?
Top notch.
What makes you prime, top notch, Poo-Tang?
I mean, I have everything that you could possibly ask for as far as brains, beauty, ambition. I would build my man up to be everything he wants to be in this world. I'm the best investment he would ever make in his life. And my shit's exclusive. I've invested in my body. I have a $150,000 body. No one barely touches me. Yes, you can see me on Instagram because I'm paid to do that, but nobody touches me unless a man, yes, does take care of me. I like bosses. I like millionaires. I like someone who's going to mentor me, teach me, and invest in me, and get me to my highest level as well.
And just to be clear, what's a $150,000 body?
4 BBLs, 2 breast technically 5 BBLs, but we're going to go with 4. 2 breast augmentations, obviously Botox, lip injections, and then I had the fat buckle removed out of my cheeks on my face.
Wow. And how young are you?
28.
28. And what age do you want to get married?
I don't necessarily have a time restraint on myself. I feel like God's going to, make me cross paths with my future husband when that time is right.
So you comfortable?
I probably have about another 10 million in real estate that I need to develop before that, so that I can reach the caliber of man that I want to be my future husband.
Got it. And how convinced are you that a man is attracted?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what the modern woman, whether they're Christian or not, aspires to be. This boss-ass bitch with 4 BBLs, 2 breast augmentations, the fat pulled out of her cheeks. I'm not going to shame a woman, okay, for doing those things in terms of you did it, you know what I mean? If I meet a woman and I fall in love with her and she happens to have those things, I'm not going to say, hey, rip out those tits or something like that, and I'm not, if a woman wants to put those in her breasts, that's on her, okay? But if we're going to ask men what men want, do they want a woman with BBLs, 4 BBLs, collagen, all this other? No one's asking for that. Most men are just asking for a woman to stay in shape, be in shape. And she seems to be in shape, so, okay, why didn't you list that? It's because all these things that, I want a man, I'm going to let him lead me, I want him to mentor me. Like, does she seem like a woman that's going to be led or mentored? And then it all comes down to when are you want to be married? She's already 28, by the way. She's 28 with 4 BBLs, all this plastic surgery. That's insane. She's absolutely unnecessary. When do you want to get married? She's like, I'm not sure. God will send him my way when I'm ready. So it's on your time, not God's time. God will send it when he decides, okay? Not when you're ready. You wait till you're ready and you may never get one because you aren't ready for by the way you're acting. The man that would have to pick her up off of the market would have to train her to be right. And she's already 28 and starting to get solid in her ways of how she wants to live her life. The man I want to marry. No, it's about the man that wants to marry you. Are you that woman that man wants to marry? You're not going to get down on your knee and propose to this guy. Not this lady. Do you think this is the type of lady that's going to get down on her knee and propose to a man? No. And it would be embarrassing if it was. And that's because that's not how that works. Okay? That's taking the leadership role. This entire thing is about taking the leadership role. See what this all comes down to is that women don't know men. Women don't care to know men. Women look at men, and instead of trying to understand men, they look at them like they're women and make them women in their minds and think out things like they're women in their mind. No, they're not. Men are fucking simple as fuck. When men look at women, they're like, man, they're so complex. They're so complex. And women are like, oh, they're so simple. They are simple, and yet you don't fucking understand them. Men don't leave relationships. Women do. Most men can't fucking cheat. They're just fucking normal dudes. Most people used to just want to be middle class. but now everybody wants to be rich. And what does that say about what women want from a man? Women don't want to build up with the man anymore. Women don't want just to, okay, yeah, fine, we're doing good with our lives and we can just enjoy our lives together. No, no, I need a fucking man that's working so fucking hard. You know what that means? He's not going to be around, and you're not going to be happy, and it's not going to be like, you're for what? To get fucking some bullshit? We're going to get into what the bullshit women want, but first, let's continue down the road of how women don't understand men. Like, she's saying, oh, I'm going to bring this. None of those things does a man fucking care about, because not only do I know that the things that do sound attractive are untrue from you with your personality and even just the way you say, you're just literally rejecting um like male authority over you, which you should have as a believer. That's what it should say, but we're having, going back to that, we have a bad doctrine. We've totally forgotten biblical roles, and it's the role of marriage inside of our, as a part of our belief and our call to image the image, to be imagers of the image, as I believe that was Mike Heiser who said that. Rest in peace, Dr. Mike Heiser. We are supposed to be fruitful and multiply, and it's completely gone. All these things, it's now like, I need to make a life for myself and be an independent woman, and then maybe I'll get married. It's no longer the focus of what the purpose of a woman is supposed to be, the purpose of a man is supposed to be, according to our biblical beliefs. We've now just swapped roles, and in fact we are rejecting all roles, and now it's just this wandering and wandering and wandering. So I'm going to let this lady take it away. She's going to talk about how men don't have to be this, they don't have to be what women expect them to be. They don't have to be women. They have to be men.
What we were saying is that a masculine needs to control his emotions in order to be vulnerable, because if not, there's just no way that if a man has been through shit and he hasn't actually dealt with it, and you want to push it out of him, you gonna see some shit.
No, but I'm not pushing. We're not pushing it out.
Right woman. We are, as women, we do. Baby, talk to me. What's wrong? Because he's quiet for 3 hours. He don't want to talk to you right now.
Because he was probably taught as a child.
No,
especially.
Yes.
Listen,
they have to. They can't
me
talk
raising
that.
my that's not true. That's not true. No bullshit. It's not true. Can we ding something real quick? Because listen, I'm gonna tell you right now. Me raising my little brother, I can tell. I'm so serious. Me raising my little brother and having him at 13 years old, already showing signs of what a grown man does. Nothing came to him. Nothing. It just how they wired. They're not always talkative. They need their space. They don't always want you in their fucking face. And if you are going to be in their face, why are you nagging about why he's been quiet? Rub that man's feet while he's quiet. Sit on his lap while he plays his game.
But look at
a lot
children.
of girls complain about shit.
Yeah, but women.
What women have learned is to communicate with other women, which they don't do well. They do it in a dramatic way most times. Most women communicate really dramatically, and they make it worse by just constantly talking about it, and it's a constant battle against themselves, their emotions. Then they want to take that, paint that over their relationship with men, and believe like that's how men act too. They don't. Men don't act that way. Because of this false presupposition that men are like women, which any Bible reading or common sense person ever, like any other religion before 1950, you know what I'm saying, 1960, would tell you that men and women are different. But because they presuppose that men are like women, they have these ridiculous problems with men. And instead of trying to figure out what help a man, calm down a man, help him speak to you, a lot of women nag and try to push it out of men. They, in essence, make whatever a man is going through about them. And sure, there's a level of, okay, you're really acting out of control, or you're really been silent, or this, that, and you really need to talk to me because I love you. but don't make it so much about yourself where it's just like, oh, men are doing this way because it's all because, and you're making me this and I have to. Men deal with things much differently. It's not about talking about it that makes them feel better. It's about getting good advice and support and counsel. My wife is my best counsel. And it's not because she is what's a super genius name? Fucking give me, she's not Elon Musk over here, and neither am I. But she is true to the way of God. She's able to discern good from evil by repeated training in the way. Hebrews 5:13-14. She's able to give me true counsel, and I can be vulnerable with her and discuss things with her, and not and I there's nothing that is missing between us. But why do women think that they're entitled to that if they can't do things like rub a man's feet? Not that that's what I'm asking for, but whatever that man they're asking for, whatever they need, that's where you come in, and then you can fill this role of wife. But women do not want to be wife. Women don't want to even be submissive or obedient. They want to be co-equal or even a leader over a man. Now, a lot of trad con women, traditional conservative women, Christian women, Christ con women, they will say, "Oh, well, that's not me. That's not me." But then they'll come out and say, "Well, if he's not making you happy, or he's not following God the way you think you should, the way that you think he should be following, making you leader by the way you controlling the pace, you deciding how the relationship should go, as opposed to you trusting your man." Okay, these tradcon women will come out and be like, "Oh, if it's not making your life good." It's in the church where feminist talking points are most alive. I tell you, and I will repeat that on this channel, that it is in Christianity that feminism is most alive, unfortunately. So, segueing into this next video, we're going to hear once again, like, done up, very pretty Christian conservative women talking about how they have a conditional, outside of for richer or poorer, for sickness and health, they'll death do you part, you know what I mean? And it says to have and to hold, that means to have sex when each other is wanting to have sex, as it says in 1 Corinthians 7. You just don't hold it off because you don't like it, whatever that day. It's like you have sex with each other to stave off sexual temptation, by the way. You're supposed to be doing, that's why you're fucking married. But that aside, we have, my phone just froze up a little bit. It seems that all the vows have been swept aside for, oh, I feel this, or my subjective, or the way I think how things are going isn't going well, or I don't feel happy about this right now, I don't feel happy where things are going right now, which are all subjective. That's the standard for a relationship. No, that's not how it fucking works. And they're going to openly say it. Let's listen to them.
You don't have to be with somebody if you don't like them. If you don't want to submit to them because you don't trust where they're taking you, or you don't like these things about them, then that's not your man. If you're not fully in submission to the way that he lives his life, it's because he's not for you. Biblical submission is a two-way street. I submit to you willingly because I want to, because I respect you. You also earn my submission. You be the man that is worth submitting.
This whole idea of a two-way street is completely unbiblical. No, once you're husband and wife, that's it. It's a covenant. Covenants are forever. Galatians 3. Do you not know that once a covenant has been cut, it cannot be amended or canceled? So it can't be changed or canceled ever. It's forever. Human covenants. Here is 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 1. Wives, in the same way, submit yourselves to your husband, so that even if they refuse to believe the word they will be won over without words by the behavior of their wives. Ephesians 22. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. 1 Corinthians 7 has a similar suggestion regarding staying with unbelieving spouses, even though they don't believe. You may win them over with your actions and how you conduct your life. That also reflecting that there is a way to live your life, as in the way, as in the sect, the way that Paul said that he was a part of in Acts 24:14, and the Bible calls the way, and Jesus calls himself the way, and the Torah calls itself the way, and it means instructions, and so on and so forth, that we've discussed at length on this channel. But going into the video that we were just discussing that just passed here, which I'm going to continue to let play, I had to interject. You do not have to earn any submission. Once you are married, that is owed to the husband, period. The man doesn't submit to the woman submits to the man. The man is the head, the man is the leadership. The woman is not supposed to speak out in public and ask the questions at home. Ephesians. If we read the Bible just like the first woman was saying, and people actually read and actually understood what we actually say in the Bible, right? She says it like that, right? She is absolutely correct. It seems that a lot of these women don't even actually understand the Bible. And maybe this is clipped bad, and she's just talking about, dating or this, that, the other thing. I don't know, but they seem to be talking about marriage and biblical roles, right? It seems to be rolling right in there. So it doesn't matter if you like that person anymore. You stay with that motherfucking person. Women have never had any kind of ability to divorce in the Bible, though there is some legal precedent to petition the elders to issue a death certificate for a man who might have died and missing in war that never came back home, or maybe something to that effect. They're not getting their marital rights. They're not getting they're not being fed. They're not being clothed. They're not being given their sexual marital duties either. There are some precedents that you could petition the elders for, but the power of divorce is in the hands of the man, okay? Because the man has the authority, and the man has the authority over the covenant, okay? Israel doesn't divorce God. God divorces Israel in Jeremiah 3:8-10. So I'm trying to bring this as biblical and back around as much as possible. The biblical role is not, this is two-way and this, that, the other thing. Yes, the man has duties too, but his duty is submission to God. It's not submission to your wants, your feelings. It's your submission in regards to doing his duties for you. Your duty is to be obedient and serve him and be submissive no matter what is going on, whether you're happy or you're unhappy, or you're happy with the direction or not, okay? Or you either like them at that moment. Women are so fickle. So it's not a good, this is not a, but you got this, you got the music, and they're a big Christian creator. Whoa. Okay, I'll let them continue.
I have to submit to you. I have to respect you. We're all sinners. So every man, no matter how great your man is, he's going to fall sometimes. He's not going to live up to God's standard all the time. And you have to look at him as the head of the household, even during that time. And then as a man, you have to make sure that you are doing everything in your power, loving your wife the way that Christ loves the church every single time.
Yeah.
If I didn't first break down her position of what she just said and held it to the fire, this second part of what she just said is totally fooling. Like, if you go right through it, it totally just makes sense. Yeah, what you just said there. Yeah, you have to submit to and yeah, he's got to do that. Of course, yeah, absolutely. But she had already said that he has to earn his submission, and if you don't like someone, you don't have to be with them. Which one is it? You just went on one way to another, and then but it's two ways. See. This is why women shouldn't teach doctrine, but that's okay. they're kind of mistaken, but they're also in a church full of effeminate gospels. Fine. But that is not how that works. Whether they are a believer or non-believer, making you happy, making you upset, you like the direction, they're your fucking husband and authority, and you follow what they say. That's biblical. That's what it says in the Old Testament. That's what's in the New Testament. The authority. Maybe people should read the Old Testament first and then read the New Testament. I just, it seems like no one reads the Old Testament at all, and it seems like no one's even reading the New Testament because it's all right fucking there, black and white. No, oh yeah, if you don't like how the direction that man's just, that the man's not for you, not supposed to be submitting to. These women are having sex with dudes. As soon as you have sex, that's it, dude. That's your husband. If two or three people know, that's, according to the community, your husband. All right, you're forced to marry that person just because you live in this fucking Babylon culture and it doesn't have any fucking decorum or standards making people follow through logically with what that means, especially by the biblical culture. Even in Christian small communities, which are not even physical communities, but they meet at the church on one day a week, whatever, blah blah blah, but they don't uphold, oh, you need to get married. No one holds them up to that. So now we're gonna listen to the dude who's about to speak some fucking truth, but also I might have to give him a little bit of a correction. We'll see.
I get up every day and I bust my ass to provide because I want to make sure that she lives an unbelievable life. Submitting doesn't mean like, okay, I'll do whatever you say, whatever. She checks me all the time. A leader is a servant. An alpha is at the end of the pack, and he lets the younger, the sick, and the old dictate how fast they're moving. So he's serving the crew. He's not telling them exactly what's going on from A to Z. I serve God and I serve her. It's going to be really, really hard to serve her if I feel with her spirit that she doesn't believe I'm worth serving. If she doesn't see me as a leader, I can't fight her on that, because then now if I see the woman that I love question where I'm going, I'm going to question where I'm going. If she looks at me with no belief, then it's going to be really hard for us to move on in life.
This guy is speaking so much truth. I might correct him on the whole wolf thing. That's like a misconception from a bad documentary, from a bad study. That's not how that always happens. It really depends on the situation, and it really doesn't always, if ever, actually play that way out in wilderness, if it ever actually did. That being put to the side and being irrelevant, what he said is very true, and yes, the leader is a servant. The leader is a servant, and people are not just supposed to do whatever you fucking tell them, you know what I mean? But that is, and being checked and corrected and having good counsel isn't meaning that the other person takes any type of leadership role. That is checked. That's being a good communicator. That's being, well, depending on how that's done, that's being able to be counseled. That's a good thing, to be able to counsel and be counseled. Those are two good things. But when we come to the idea that the man is just a servant, the leader is just a servant. He is a servant, but he is also the leader. There comes with authority and respect and duty and honor and all these other things that are all implicit and, if not explicit, in the Bible in many cases. So what we have is a mixing of like good, obvious, anecdotal observations, biblical values, but also being sprinkled upon with effeminate doctrine. And ultimately, yes, a man just wants to know that the woman is going to follow the lead, and that's doesn't want to be fighting against a woman to take leadership all the time. But that's the problem. That's what women want to do all the time. And here I'm going to let Melanie King discuss it. Women are not submissive. Women are trying to be bosses, and it's not in just the black culture, which she's discussing, but it's in all cultures, especially here in the West. And it's becoming bad in non-Western countries and third world countries, and it's it's what she's discussing. So let's let her just talk about it, and let her notice that she's pointing it out, because she's also Christian, but the person who's talking is identifying as this Christian woman, and she's like, oh, I can be this way. No, it isn't. Just listen.
Black women are not bosses. I'm sick of the narrative that black women are strong, independent.
I didn't say strong, independent. I said
we're not.
Boss.
A man does not want a woman who says she's a boss.
Insecure men don't want a boss.
No man. They respect you as your singer, and they're pandering because of your talent. But are they taking you home and saying that's my wife?
Somehow.
There's a difference.
Somehow. That's the point
between your art and being a wife. Because the Bible, you talked about being a Christian, but it says the older women need to teach the younger women, and younger women need to be submissive. But you know how many young women are not submissive to what men say? But you say you're a Christian woman. Okay. You can't be a Christian woman and buck against what men are saying. That is anti-biblical, is anti-God, is anti-Christ, and it makes you the great Babylon.
I'm going to be honest
but don't claim Christianity if you're not willing to submit to when men are telling you. A lot of women are Christian feminists. You claim Christianity when it works in your favor, but you put down men and say, you're rebellious. You are anti-Christ and you are the Jezebel.
Damn. Melanie King laying into her. She's absolutely fucking right. Jezebel, fucking anti-Christ, and this is some horror Babylon shit, man. You can't fucking absolutely dispose of the biblical morality and then still say that I'm Christian. No, that's bullshit. No, judge them by their fruits. You're not allowed to say that. That's anti-Christ behavior. If a prophet comes forward and teaches something that's against what you've been taught before, right? Deuteronomy 13, whether it be from the Torah, obviously, but our teachers who have all taught the Torah, whether it be Jesus, Paul, John, Luke, Matthew, Mark, Peter, we all know that they're all teaching directly from the biblical morality. And if you dispose of that, you don't get to fucking say that you're a Christian. You're a fucking you're a tare, okay? There's the wheat and the tares. You're the false wheat. You will be plucked and thrown into the fire if you do not spit out the bad doctrine and stop being lukewarm and start believing it's not even lukewarm. It's just this fake. It's just absolutely wolves in sheep's clothing. Okay. It's absolute lies. And think about they sometimes they come and when she's talking about, do they bring you home and make you a wife? She's like, yeah, sometimes. She's not married. She's not a wife. And that's it. Like, we're not, just because a man has sex with you and brings you home does not mean he wants to marry you, wants anything long term. In fact, I would argue that most men that just want to have sex with you or have sex with you very early on only want that. Okay? And that's coming from a man. Anyway, we're going to scoot right into the next clip, and let me segue into it. This is all revolving around misconception of the biblical faith, is it not? Again, I say to emphasize, women are like Jordan Pisano are like, oh, these are women that act like this are only the bottom of the barrel. They're not Christian. They're not believers. We're going to go into more clips back to back of women who are tradcon, who are already saying that like men aren't deserving, okay, of XYZ because of their standard, as opposed to a woman going into their life and following their standard, the man's standard. And so now they're defining what a man is, and they're defining what a man needs to have in his life, according to his finances and how things are going in the modern market. And they're demanding something biblical. But once again, as we've discussed many times in this video and many times on this channel, women are not in any way living up to the biblical traditional standard.
Men out there who are 50-50 warriors, providing is in the Bible, okay? You cannot call yourself a man of God or a man of faith if you're not a provider. Read the Bible.
Yeah, that part of the Bible's talking about his wife. Not some chick he met at the Carolina Classic and went on 2 dates to the Cheesecake Factory. It also says that your duty will be to your husband and he shall rule over thee. And we know y'all don't want to be ruled over. So do us all a favor and stop quoting the Bible.
No. How are you looking for a housewife when you live in an apartment? You're looking for a flatmate, apartment wife, girlfriend with a space in between. Be a man. Get a house.
Be a man. Get a house. What kind of house? The one that you kind of like or the one that he likes? Because if he gets a house that you don't like, will he not be a man then? See, trying to define man by his fucking physical possessions is a fucking ridiculous, materialistic, dead end way of defining a human being who already first has innate value. We're supposed to live our lives by codes with duty and honor, not fucking, oh well, now he's a man, I can consider him to be a man because he has a house. Dude, people have apartments because they live in the city. People live in apartments because they live in a place that doesn't have a good housing market, or they would have to buy a house very far away from their job. Whatever, they're young and they can't afford or don't have good credit for such things. Well, there's a whole bunch of excuses that I could think of. I think that it's all kind of bullshit and that there's a lot of ways to simplify things down and have a house. I agree, you know what I mean? But it's not going to be the type of house that she's going to be wanting, right? It's not going to be the house that she wants. It's the kind of house that I want, okay? And if I live in a house that I like and a woman wants to be in my life, if I take on another wife or anything like that, they're going to have to come into my house. Not, oh, I have to change my life for her. That will already put her in the leadership role. And women don't understand. They're just trying to lead. Oh, you men are supposed to be this way. But you're not even fucking doing your job. Why don't you let men decide how things are supposed to be? If you're not going to do your job, that's 50%. You know what I mean? You show up, but you don't do what you need to do, so you will pay half. Okay? So that's if you want some shitty math thing that's going to make sense or not really make sense, then there you have it. But in reality, men have the leadership role, and if they decide that they want to go Dutch, that's their fucking prerogative. And if you want to not fucking feel entitled to their fucking money and first get to know them and fucking be in their life, then maybe you could be a more genuine, emotionally intelligent person and do that. Or you could just be a fucking gold digging creep and do the things that we've been talking against on this channel all the time. Because despite you being fucking sold that it's supposed to be what you can get out of a fucking relationship, relationships are more than just that. It's what you can give other people, what I can give my wife or wives. It's what you can give your husband. No one really fucking cares about these things anymore because it's become transactionalized. We've talked about this in other videos on this channel that will be posted before this one, referring to Ho Math, and I don't want to just keep running out his fucking awesome clip, but you should go check it out. And while many women are cultivating a culture of my standards, this is how it has to be, or oh, why don't we do it this way, or why, or men say this, why can it be this way? There is an entire culture of women who want to be married early. You know what I mean? Though it is, not be as prevalent as before and as trivial as it may seem, because it's, more of a, middle class, upper class, dying out tradition that is prevalent among that class in among college students. Dang, I'm rambling here. It is in some way still indicative of an overall shift in culture, and how we can look at one culture that's fighting against men, fighting against their preference, fighting against what they are trying to set in place for their relationships, and a culture that's, I want to get married. You know what I mean? And these women will be fine with splitting it 50-50 in college, and having, very cheap dates and trips to like a state park and camping for a weekend. You know what I mean? And these are magical memories, don't get me wrong, you know what I'm saying? But this is not what many of women are expecting. Oh, you can't even take a woman to Cheesecake Factory now, according to the viral trend. You can't take them to the park. You can't take them anywhere. You can't take them to a theme park. You can't take them to a movie. These are all red flags. Meanwhile, there are women that are freshmen in college getting married to other freshmen or maybe older classmen in college and ready for the long haul for the rest of their life.
White women go to college to find their husband. Black women go to prove they don't need one.
Oh my God!
Now listen, as harsh as that sounds, there is validity in that statement. Have y'all ever heard of ring by spring? If you look like me, you probably haven't. If you don't look like me, you probably have, because that's a thing in our lighter friends community. Ring by spring is apparently a goal for our lighter toned friends to get a proposal before graduation in the spring. And then, you know what? Last night I saw a movie. There's a movie called Ring by Spring. I'm gonna have to go watch it. But it's a thing. Don't worry, we're gonna touch on the black women go to prove they don't need one in a different video.
The whole ring by spring is this whole idea that you get married before you graduate. So it's not necessarily just freshmen, right? Like I was alluding to earlier. Nonetheless, this is a very different culture than the one that we see most modern women adhering to or even emulating in any way. This would be more considered a traditional position, but despite it being a traditional position and these women not being traditional at all, they still require men to be traditional and fill their traditional roles while still in no way adhering to what would be conducive to a good relationship for a man to be, say, a leader or a teacher or a mentor. It is kind of hindered by the whole anti-man agenda. Now, I haven't seen her get into the subject yet of like women going to college to prove they don't need a man, but we basically have a really, really good example here in this next video, which I'm introducing once again. This is Angry Man channel. One of the earlier videos I already shared from him, and I believe there's a watermark on the video. Nonetheless, it's Angry Man whose channel who is reacting to the video. Again, this is the common advice and guidance that the older generations are giving to the average woman, and this is why modern culture is looking this way.
If I knew that dating was going to be this bad when I was in college and my parents was like, focus on that education, the boys will always be there, don't focus on the boys, get that degree, I would have never gotten that degree. I could have skipped a couple classes, I could have failed a couple classes, and I could have been married, 2 kids by now, working on the 3rd. I can't believe I wasted my good years, my good body. Ooh, and the body was bodying back then. So that I can get a high-class education. Just for me to be broke and single?
So, once again, this brings us back to the idea of women waiting. Where does this idea come from? Their parents are telling them, society is telling them to wait, to focus on education. That's what you tell a boy. That's not what you tell a woman. They don't prioritize getting married early, and then when you end up doing is taking your youth, spending it, giving it away to education and a career, and by the time that you're ready to settle down, you're ready, as the girl that we spoke about earlier, a woman that we spoke about earlier who was 28, and saying she'll be ready when God will send a man when she's ready. It's delusional, it's self-centered, it's out of touch with reality. But treating a woman like a man in itself is out of touch with reality. And once you don't have to be in touch with reality, there's no condemnation, there's no shame in modern society, at least, and unless you're within a very few subculture or cultural enclaves. Shame is not the mode of societal enforcement anymore, and ergo is not enforced anymore. It's pervasive, but it's beatable. All you have to do is look at it with logic, reason, and listen to men. instead of ignoring men and then telling them what they like, as I've spoken about on my Instagram before. That'll also be another video. It's a 10-part, like minute each clip, so it's by my minute and a half, so it might end up being like 20 minutes long, about a woman telling men what they should like and what they should accept. It's always constantly that. It's a lot of that. And then I have one also about some simps doing the same thing in the most simpiest way. I can't wait to post that one too. Beyond that, in this conversation, in this problem issue that we're trying to solve and synthesize like an answer for, it's very easy once you stop ignoring one entire side that is involved in relationships. So once again, this not only brings us back to women waiting, but they're also bringing us back to what women think men are supposed to accept, what women think men want. And this next clip, once again, really condenses the conversation into a very short time.
Because a woman is not being sought after based on her performance. Women can deny it all they want, and women feel like men should be attracted to what women are attracted to. Like, oh, I make $100,000 a year. I've got my own house. I've got my own career. He should want me. We don't care. That's good for you. It's not something we care about. And you know it because you've seen men you're attracted to holler at a doctor and also holler at the bitch that works at Wendy's. Two completely opposite sides of the spectrum. But attraction-wise, they're both here.
But he kept the one that worked at Wendy's. He did not keep the doctor.
Say, okay, but if they're both equally attractive, what would you rather have?
The peaceful one.
Right. What if they're both peaceful? Then
a doctor's not going to be peaceful.
She's not going to be peaceful nor available.
A doctor's not going to have time.
Yeah.
Okay, so time would be the issue.
There would be a whole bunch of other things. You know what I mean? She's going to be dominant. She's going to be assertive. She's going to be competitive.
She's leading at work, so that masculinity. There's very few where they come home and go, "Oh, I want to turn off this masculinity." Right. But that's the bad part.
Not always, because I would say I have a very strong masculine part that I play at my job, and as soon as I come off of work,
but keep in mind what I said, there are very few women that, and they say, I want to turn that off.
It should be most evident to Christians. It should be self-evident, but it should be most evident to Christians that considering relationships include both men and women, that we should also consider what men actually want from women instead of just projecting on them what we think that they want or what we think they should want, especially coming from the perspective of a woman. The problem is with modern society, and especially in the modern Christian church, feminism is brutally inculcated into our youth, and they have all these as well as progressivism. There's a level of progressivism. Oh, we've progressed past this time in the Bible. We've progressed needing the law. We've been progressed needing a morality in the Bible. We've progressed past men being the head of a family. You know what I mean? And though maybe you may even say that, no, I don't believe that. But in terms of how you act, or the, whole system of things that you believe that men are allowed or not allowed to do, or this is controlling, or a man can't be setting boundaries like that. That's going back to the controlling thing. He can't publicly shame people, or even his own family, or people after repeated corrections behind closed doors. Oh, why is he yelling at his children? Why is he yelling at his wife? Why, you know what I mean? But if a woman yells at a man, they're like, oh, what's wrong over there? Do I have to step in? You know what I mean? And men are just shitted on. And it may not be this explicit belief that you may be holding, but a lot of society believes that way, from the media, the movies, the books, the music, It's just everything. Did I say TV? The TVs, everything that you're watching, the series, even just underlying motifs that it seems to be prevalent among a lot of media is portraying men as like these dumb buffoons with no control over their emotions or ego. Though those things can be problematic for some men and for everyone, you know what I mean? But that's what all men. They can't control a family. It's actually a woman that needs to come up behind him and clean everything and put everything together. It's not him. He's just a fucking idiot that you know, brings the money in. And people don't realize it. People do not realize it. And they avoid religion, so called. They will avoid reading the Bible. They'll avoid thinking about things if they're not already just stuck running in the treadmill that is the rat race, because they're not moving anywhere. They're just stuck in place, running and running and running. But if the believer did take the time to read the Bible and investigate their faith and take the time to think, even if it meant sacrificing certain luxuries and comforts in their life to put aside a time, not only for their relationship with God, but maybe even the relationship with the people around them. Do they have enough time to have with their loved ones, or are they going to spend most or the majority of their life trading it away for Babylonian squares that will never equal, ever, the time that you lost with your loved ones? That's something to think about. But you can't even think about that because you're in that system of Babylon, money, like a lot of these women, materialistic, chasing, status building, gold digging, hedonistic treadmill, never ending, fucking want more stuff bullshit. The Bible teaches simplicity. The Bible teaches a very simple, not necessarily easy, never will call it easy, way of harnessing relationships, how to be and how to, you know, it's a whole instruction manual. The Torah literally means instruction. Someone said, and it was like that punchy type of advice that just sounds right, Bible. And it was like this acronym. It was just like this type of punchy, just aphorist type of Bible. Stands for basic instructions before leaving Earth. And literally, the word Torah, the law, literally means instructions. And people just sidestep that. They're going to come up with their own instructions and play the game they want, not the one that their heavenly Father, their spiritual authority, thinks they should live their life, because we progressed all past it or whatever. And they don't know how to conduct themselves, so they'll never get a husband. They don't know how to tell good from evil, so they'll be confused and hurt and traumatized and building up scars on their heart all their life. And that's because they don't know right from wrong. They're still a baby. Then they need to listen to somebody else read the Bible and explain it to them. They can never do it to themselves. No need for the Holy Spirit. It's not like the Holy Spirit could, supposed to be a part of every believer's life. Oh wait, yes it is. We miss all of these things. We miss all these things because we have let the world define our culture. Well, the world define how we get married, which is a biblical thing, not a secular thing. The secular world didn't make that up. So how do we fix it? We go back to the Bible, to the Word. And isn't that always the solution? I mean, concluding here, I want to wrap up once again these thoughts and kind of leave you with maybe even a question or something to think about. I know I said it plenty of times in this video and videos past, but it's worth repeating. Waiting does not work. This entire video is discussing action, the action that we can take, the action that can make us a better partner, rather a better wife, because we're specifically talking about women. So let me not just use vague language. To be a better wife, to attract a man, and to active things that we have to actively remove out of our brain, in terms of the thoughts that we have created or the society have created. We're going to the Bible. We've seen women literally creating almost obscene standards for men, right? And it's obscene because they're trying to lead men. They're trying to tell men how to be men. And men know what's going on in the world. They know how to spend money. They're alive. And if you don't like that men, you can't complain about those men. But if you're going to ignore the majority of men and how things are going because of your preconception of what is good about reality as opposed to what is good in the Bible about reality, then you have to admit that you're not really looking to God and His Word for guidance in your life. You're looking for yourself. And you think you know the difference between good and evil. Do you know the difference between good and evil? Or does God? Who what who told you that you knew the difference between good, or you could judge the good or evil? Was it not the snake in the garden? And it's this is just the repeated problem of the woman, of Eve, from the garden, is that they think that they can come up with their own standards and push it upon men. Uh, Men do that all the time too. They've done it so large it's become a literal systemic problem among quote unquote religions. So don't get me wrong, I talk about men all the time. But in this particular case, women are not going to God. When I say have been trained in the way, knowing good from evil, Hebrews 5:13 to 5:14, it's not you training in your way. It's training in God's way. And God's way is the law, the Bible. And Jesus, in every public appearance, teaches the law because He is the way and He knows exactly the way because He is that door, the gate. So I know that we went through a lot of clips from various sources discussing a myriad of topics, but it all comes down to Christian women shouldn't be waiting. There is a reason the feminist talking points and doctrine is destructive because it has wrought this on the Christian church. Single women, no covering, no children. In the US it's like 38% of women. In the UK it's 50% of women that are 30, single, childless. Those numbers are only going up. The women are literally pricing themselves out of the market. Women are literally going to be alone forever, like the meme. And it's fucking sad. It's not even funny. And they know it. They're like, oh, I'm gonna be alone I'm gonna be alone forever. But no one wants to tell them what they should do. Not the church. Right? That's what we discussed in this video. So the church doesn't tell them. The pastors is what it really is. But the church, us, as members of the church, which is actually the church, the people, just like a nation is its people, it's not the government. A church is not the pastor, it's the people. You should be talking to each other and holding one accountable and bringing the word to one another, not just the pastor. I guess you're too busy, though. That shit doesn't happen either. Where it should happen the most, where the most success should happen, where it should happen the most, it is being drained away, and women are staying single forever. And we're not replacing ourselves as whether it be American nation or a Christian the nation of Israel who have inherited the Messiah, okay, like who believe in him, we are also not replacing ourselves. I don't know what the laissez-faire whatever type attitude is coming from the church today is, but to me it seems pernicious and evil. You know what I mean? Oh, sure, it might be just lazy, it might be just but as we, and I'm not just talking about any one particular church. The entire church is where the feminism is. It's where the single women are. It's where the feminizing of the gospel is. This is leading to uh, a desolate path, and that's evil. That's evil, and it's evil to be that lazy. And uh, all evil takes, as it is said, is for good men to do nothing. And so where are all the good men saying anything about it? They're too busy fucking talking about a whole bunch of other things that they think is as important. And the foundation of what the church and the church is, quote unquote, the ecclesia, Israel, the spiritual nation of God, the foundation of any human nation, the foundation of any society, the foundation of life itself are the relationship between a husband and his wife. And we have so far taken a step where women don't even think that they need men and they can wait. Literally showing that they think their men are replaceable. So I ask you, are men replaceable in reality? Not today's society, just are men replaceable? And if men are replaceable, what will replace them? And one final question. And if men are not replaceable, when will society start acting and holding each other accountable to that standard? To treat men like they're not replaceable. Not just your man, not just her man, not someone else's man. Men are not replaceable. That's what I leave with you. Stay up, stay vigilant, stay locked and loaded. Shalom, shalom. Peace in y'all. Talk to y'all soon.